There was a time in my life when everything felt like a losing battle, where every new habit began with fire and fizzled out within days. I remember staring at the ceiling, furious with myself for all the promises I had broken to my own soul. I was tired of being a version of myself that always quit. But it was during this phase, this rock bottom, that I came across a book that didn't scream for change but whispered something more powerful. Make it obvious, not hidden. That one line stuck with me. Instead of relying on this mythical thing called willpower, I started designing my environment. I placed my gym clothes right next to my bed, so they stared at me in the morning. My phone charger, moved it to the kitchen so I wouldn't be tempted to scroll in bed. These small, nearly stupid changes created massive results. I wasn't trying to move mountains anymore, I was simply stepping over pebbles. I began stacking habits. After pouring my coffee in the morning, I'd meditate for 5 minutes. It was a small moment of silence, but it anchored my day. Then came the reading habit. I told myself, just 1 page a day. Just one. Now, months later, I devour 30 pages like it's a sip of water. I stopped setting outcomes and started forming an identity. I no longer said, I want to lose weight. I told myself, I'm the kind of person who moves. Each tiny act became proof of the new me. And when I slipped, I embraced the golden rule: never miss twice. A bad day wasn't the end of a streak, it was just a page I'd flip. I built a habit tracker, checked off each day, and felt the sweet surge of dopamine. That X wasn't just a mark, it was a battle one. My environment was no longer a trap. I deleted Instagram from my home screen and replaced it with Kindle. I didn't fight urges, I rewired them. Over time, I stopped depending on motivation and started depending on momentum. And in those quiet, powerful hours each morning, I found not just discipline, but freedom. This story isn't just about changing habits. It's about reclaiming who you are, one tiny decision at a time. The question I leave you with is this: what's the smallest, stupidest habit you can start today that your future self will thank you for endlessly? For me, it was showing up. Every single day. Because the truth is, transformation doesn't come from big declarations. It's forged in the moments when no one is watching. It's in the quiet decision to walk instead of scroll, to journal instead of complain, to breathe instead of break. I remember the night I almost quit again. It was raining. I was soaked and cold and frustrated, standing outside the gym because I forgot my membership card. Past me would have gone home, justified it. But this time, I waited. I walked in. I showed up. That night changed me. Not because of what I lifted, but because I refused to let that old voice win. You see, I began to notice that consistency is the real miracle, not motivation. Motivation is the flame, but consistency is the fuel. I kept going. I kept building. I found a rhythm in the chaos. I began teaching others. Not from a place of perfection, but from raw, lived experience. I told them, don't try to become someone else. Just become more of who you were meant to be. One small habit, layered over time, shaped a man who once couldn't stick to anything into someone who others now look to for strength. And it never felt like a transformation, it felt like a return. A return to myself. That's the beauty of tiny habits. They don't force you to leap, they let you become. I challenge you to pick one today. Just one. Make it tiny. Make it obvious. Make it stick. Because when you do, you're not just changing your routine, you're rewriting your story. A story that says, I'm not someone who tries, I'm someone who becomes. When I look back now, I realize the real battle was never against laziness or procrastination. It was against the identity I had locked myself into. For years, I had told myself I wasn't disciplined, that I had no follow-through, that I was someone who simply didn't finish things. And our brains, well, they believe what we repeatedly tell them. That's why focusing on identity over outcomes was the biggest turning point in my journey. When I began telling myself, I'm the kind of person who shows up, it was like flipping a switch. My behavior began to align with the person I claimed to be. And here's the secret most people don't talk about. Every time you act in alignment with your new identity, even in the smallest way, it's like casting a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. No, you won't win the election with one vote. But keep voting day after day. And one day, you wake up and realize you become the very thing you once only imagined. I used to wait for motivation like it was some magical gust of wind. Now, I build systems that make action easier than inaction. My house became a reflection of my goals. My phone screen stopped being a distraction and started being a launchpad. My morning routine wasn't about hustle culture, it was about sacred space. 5 minutes of meditation. 10 pages of reading. 1 walk around the block. These became rituals, not chores. And as they stacked, so did my belief in myself. Confidence didn't come from grand accomplishments, it came from tiny promises kept. And every time I checked that box on my habit tracker, it whispered, "You're doing it. Keep going." I began helping friends adopt the same philosophy. One of them, Alex, was always late, disorganized, and drowning in stress. He wanted a full transformation. I said, "No. Let's start stupidly small. What's one thing you can do in under 2 minutes that will help you tomorrow?" He picked laying out his clothes at night. That was it. 2 weeks later, he added prepping his breakfast. Then a short morning stretch. Fast forward 3 months, Alex is punctual, calm, and grateful. Not because of a big overhaul, but because he changed his story, 1 page at a time. That's the ripple effect of tiny habits. They don't just change your day, they change your destiny. They bleed into relationships, careers, and mental health. You start becoming a better listener, a more focused worker, a more patient partner. Why? Because you trained your brain to love momentum over perfection. You fell in love with showing up, not showing off. I say this now not as a guru or a life coach, but as a fellow struggler who finally found the light switch. There's no magic to this. There's just intention, attention, and repetition. You can do this. Not next year. Not when life gets easier. Today. Pick one habit. Anchor it to something you already do. Track it. Protect it. Let it grow roots before you try to grow branches. And when the days feel dark, remember, you are only ever one habit away from a new story. One tiny action away from a new identity. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to persist. Let today be the first domino. Let it fall. Because transformation doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you listen closely enough, it says, "Welcome back. I've been waiting for you." What I discovered through this process is that small actions are more than just tactics, they are deeply personal reflections of how much we value ourselves. Every time I chose to take care of my body, my mind, or my goals through these micro-actions, it was like reminding myself that I was worth the effort. That shift in self-perception was a quiet revolution. And this isn't just a feel-good philosophy, it's neuroscience. Our habits shape our neural pathways, and every new behavior, no matter how small, begins to rewire how we think, act, and react. It's powerful stuff. I started to visualize my goals not as destinations but as rivers, formed by the consistent drip of water over time. The more I showed up, the deeper those rivers ran. The more consistent I became, the more automatic success felt. I was no longer pushing uphill. I was flowing forward. And that flow, that's where peace lives. That's where you no longer chase goals, you attract them. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with someone who needs motivation. Press the bell icon so you never miss a new story. More life-changing motivational stories are on the way.